I remember the first time Allison and I found out we were having a baby. We were excited to tell the teens, and I'll never forget the night. It was a Wednesday night. We were playing hangman inside that garage here in the youth building. The last clue was the due date. So after revealing January 17th, 2010, the teens at first were confused, but then the light bulb went off and it sank in. I remember Morgan and Leah and Katie, among others, just squealing with excitement about the news. It feels great to receive good news, doesn't it? When I'm scrolling through my news feed these days, I love reading stories that are just full of good news. The way people are serving and loving each other well, the stories of the underdog getting drafted into the NFL, the ways God is answering prayers. I love these stories. Maybe that's because it seems like good news is sometimes so hard to come by. Now, at times, what may be good news for you isn't actually good news for everyone. To you, good news might be winning a big game. But what about the team you beat? You get the job, but the other two applicants didn't. You finished school this week, yay! Everyone else still has 3 weeks left. There's one place I have found where good news for everyone is actually pretty easy to find. Literally, in the pages of the Bible, we read the words good news or the gospel more than 100 times. And it isn't just good news for a select few. No matter where you are in life, it's good news for all people. Last week, we started a new series about who Jesus is. We talked about the fact that Jesus is God. We know that's not all Jesus is. From the moment Jesus' birth is announced to a ragtag bunch of shepherds, we're told that Jesus is good news. We don't often hear this story when it's not Christmas time, but let's see if we can get into the holiday spirit for a minute. In Luke 2, here is what the angel says about appearing to the shepherds. I bring you good news of great joy that will be for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is Christ the Lord. The angels brought this message to the shepherds and to everyone on earth. The Savior of the world had been born. It's significant that the angels say the news of Jesus' birth is for everyone. Like we said before, good news isn't always good news for everyone. Now the angels called Jesus Savior or Messiah. Messiah means anointed one. At the time of Jesus' birth, faithful Jewish people had been waiting centuries for a Messiah. They believed God would send someone to help and save them. They didn't know who it would be, but they called this person their Messiah. For the Jewish people who had been waiting centuries for the Messiah, hearing that he had finally been born would have been pretty good news. But here's the shocking thing about the angels' news. The Messiah they came to announce was just a baby that was born in a lowly manger. Most Jewish people expected their Messiah to be a powerful leader, not a helpless baby. How was a baby going to save them? There's a story in the Gospel of Luke 19 about a man named Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was a chief tax collector, which meant he was very, very rich. Tax collectors often got rich by collecting more than they needed for the taxes. They turned over the required amount to the Romans, but kept the extra for themselves. Zacchaeus got word that Jesus was passing through town. He was short and couldn't see Jesus because of the crowd, so he hurried ahead, climbed up a tree, hoping to catch just a glimpse of Jesus. Amazingly, Jesus notices Zacchaeus and invites himself over to his house for dinner. In the time and culture of Zacchaeus, most good people wouldn't have been caught dead hanging out with the likes of Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was a sinner, despised by nearly everyone. But for some reason, Jesus wants to hang out with him. We don't know the exact moment that changed Zacchaeus' life forever, but at some point during his time with Jesus, Zacchaeus recognizes the wrong that he had done to others. And in that instant, Zacchaeus decides to give half of his possessions to the poor and pay back anyone he had stolen from. Even more, he agreed not to just pay them back, but to pay them 4 times what he actually owed them. Zacchaeus, a man who was once obsessed with gaining money at any cost, changed in an instant. And that's when Jesus connected the dots. The reason for Zacchaeus' life change was salvation. Jesus saved Zacchaeus from his sins and his past behavior, but that's not all. Jesus saved Zacchaeus for something too: joy, peace, fulfillment, generosity, purpose. When salvation came to Zacchaeus' house, Zacchaeus was saved from his sins, but he was also saved for a brand new life right then and there. Zacchaeus was saved by the good news of Jesus, but he didn't let Jesus' salvation stop there. Zacchaeus chose to be good news to those around him, just like Jesus had done for him. So who is Jesus? These stories and Jesus' own words make it pretty clear. Jesus is Savior. So what about you? Have you ever really experienced Jesus as Savior the way Zacchaeus did? Do you know what Jesus has saved you from? Do you know what Jesus has saved you for? Maybe Jesus saved you from selfishness so you could change someone's life through your generosity. Maybe Jesus saved you from loneliness so you could experience the joy of having true community with people who care about each other. Maybe Jesus saved you from anger so you could become an example of peace and gentleness in the world. Or maybe Jesus hasn't saved you from or for anything yet. If that's you, I want to invite you to think about what you would like Jesus to save you from. Then talk to him about that. He would love to talk with you. If we're ever going to experience Jesus as Savior the way Zacchaeus did, we must know what Jesus saves us from and discover what he saved us for. We'll talk more about this tonight at 7 p.m. on Zoom. I hope you can join us there.